Okay, that sound means the restaurant brokers are back on the air and we're talking restaurant reality. That's right. That's the part of the show where we give you the full inside scoop and unbridled truth about buying a restaurant. We didn't sell hundreds of restaurants by being afraid of those four-letter words in the restaurant industry, the F word, fail, and the S word, sell. Eric, we have been talking with some of the experts in the business on franchising, and the one thing that I heard loud and clear is as independent as restaurateurs are, this is probably not something where you should go it alone. There's a lot of help out there. Would you agree?
I agree, and special thanks to Stephen Caldera today that took the time, to the president of the International Franchise Association, to talk with us, and Dave McDougall from the Southeast Franchise Forum that give us a lot of good insight. And yeah, I think today it's more of a remedy how to prevent the fail by getting engaged. And there's a lot of help out there, and we all kind of want to go out and worry about the kitchen, worry about the front of the house, worry about our food costs, worry about labor, worry about marketing and competing for customers, and we forget the big picture, that there's a lot of things out there that are going to be impacting your business that you really don't have the time maybe to take upon on your own. But there's organizations out there that will help you. The International Franchise Associations talk about healthcare today. They talk about
all the different political activities that are going on, and that's the one key piece that I think for us, we really see folks, they're struggling with how do I get the guy down the street in my door, not what's going on 200 miles away in the state capitol or what's going on in the legislative houses on the national level that's going to be impacting me phenomenally going forward. I mean, we heard from the CEO recently of a major franchise group with 700 stores saying that his health care cost per employee is $4,000. You operate a business with 50 employees. We're talking about, it was $5,000, but his portion was $4,000. And those sorts of material changes to business that happen out of Washington are key. And that's really where I think these organizations weigh in. And the reality is, if you are a restaurateur, if you operate a business, whether you're 1 unit, 3 units, or 20 units, if you're not a member of an organization where somebody is feeding you the critical data you need to be a part of, then go and join today.
And there's a lot of education. You need to look outside your walls. Recently, we were at a conference, and Robin and I tend to go to conferences, and I can think of a billion reasons why not to go. We're very busy. We all are. But every time I make it there, I'm so happy that I did. I was talking to Jim Sullivan, a very famous restaurant consulting, and he's talking about all the brands, and and you go and consult with them and do seminars and say, well, this is the enemy. Why would we talk to them? He said, no, they're not the enemy. Your competition is not your enemy. We all compete for customers. You do not compete. Burger King does not compete with McDonald's directly. They compete for the same customers. So part of that's the reason, like the IFA, for instance. A true story. Robin and I were there a few years back in Orlando. It was our first conference, and I was walking down the hall between meetings, and a gentleman tapped me on the shoulder. And he says, "You are Eric Gagnon." I said, "Yes, sir, I am." I turn around. Thank God everybody has a name tag at these conferences. It was John Luther, president and chairman of Dunkin' Donuts. Himself, at my first conference, says, "I'd like to talk to you. We have some units that we may want to get rid of, and I'd like to talk to you. Do you have a moment?" I told Robin to go on, and needless to say, I sat down with him and talked to him. That's the type of opportunities that you can have. We've seen some small guys talking to Fred DeLuca, chairman of Subway, and say, "Hey, can I talk to you, Mr. DeLuca? I have a couple questions." And the man would sit down with you and talk. Right, Robin?
And that's really is an amazing part of the culture of franchising. But it only happens if you get outside your doors. And the other thing that I think that the education and the conferences do is that they help you understand that franchising, because it does create those 153,000 jobs this year versus other industries that lag behind, it seems as though it's a very fast and lucrative path to success, but it's also not that easy, and it's not that simple. So the reality is you can't just build one unit and be, quote, ready to franchise. I mean, we just fielded a call from someone who said, "I don't have any stores up yet, but I have a great food truck, so I'm ready to franchise, and I need you to start looking for locations for us." Well, do you have your franchise disclosure documents in order? Have you met with a franchise attorney? Do you have your operations underway? I mean, the thing is that franchising is absolutely governed by federal law under the Federal Trade Commission. So it's not as simple as just saying, hey, I'm going to start this. I'll just start selling these. In fact, there's a very prescriptive type process that has to be followed by franchise lawyers in order to go out and start selling to a prospect.
Yeah, if you think you're going to franchise to get what we call mailbox money, that your concept is so good and you just want to go to mailbox and you don't have to do anything because you don't want to do it, it's not going to work. I have news for you. This got to be a proven concept. Even the brands that are very mature, they go out there and test constantly and revamp themselves, refresh themselves. You can think of McDonald's, Burger King. Did they look the same that they looked back in 1965? Did they have the same menu they even have in 2000 or 2005? The answer is no. So it is a breeding, living thing. So franchising is something that you provide value to your franchisees every day. We had Dave McDougall to be on the show, and I had a meeting with him a few months back. And Dave says, if I cannot provide value to my franchisees and put money in their pockets every single day, what am I doing here? That's what a franchise is about, is to give them a recipe for success.
And speaking of franchises, we don't want to leave the program without talking a little bit about some of the franchises that we have for sale, because the bottom line is you may not always succeed within the franchise model, or there may be reasons that you need to sell your business once you become a franchisee. So the good news is, as restaurant brokers, we get those single units or maybe 2 or 3 units at a time. We're able to put them into the marketplace, and you can get an open and operating unit. So you get the value of something that is established as a franchise and also has a track record of sales. So I can't think of a better business model. So some of the franchises we have for sale right now, Eric, what do we have on the book? A couple of Dickey's Barbecues that just landed.
We have several Dickey's Barbecue in different states. We have some in North Carolina, Georgia, Florida that are great for one owner-operator, and these will be at a fraction of the cost. You're looking at between $50,000 and $100,000 for most of them, where initial cost is about $500,000 to open a store. So these are great value for an owner-operator.
We have an Atlanta-bred multi-unit opportunity. I've got 3 units, Eric. They're generating $275,000 in earnings. That's on the books, already pre-approved for Lindy, and that multi-unit opportunity is $795,000.
Wow, that's a good deal. We also have some backyard burgers in the panhandle of Florida. Great weather for those of you living in the middle of the country or something. For $99,000 a piece. These are well-established stores, well over 10 years in business. What else we got, Robin?
Well, Church's Chicken, you can buy it with the real estate or without, $375,000 with the real estate, and I believe about $175,000 without, along with the Checkers franchise as well. That Checkers Rally brand is very interesting to a lot of folks, and that's $175,000 without the real estate. If you go to our website, WeSellRestaurants.com, you'll see all the listings by the restaurant brokers. We have several hundred listings across all states in the country, and we will always have more and more of that information for you every single week, along with our blog.
I can give you one more piece of advice before we go there today, Robin. For those of you thinking about franchising your concept or thinking about buying a franchise, consider going and get a job in a franchise. Go understand what the franchise really is. Go work there as a line cook, as a server, as something to understand what this is. And you'll get a much better perspective, and when you are ready to franchise, you will then be in a better position to understand what success looks like.
All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for the Restaurant Brokers show this week. Remember, our name says it all. We sell restaurants. Our show is designed to satisfy your appetite for acquisition, feed the need for restaurant reality, and serve up a recipe for business success. Join us next week on our show. This is Eric and Robin Gagnon, and we sell restaurants.